Some people in life know exactly what they want to achieve. This is a talk for the rest of us. Many of us live in a world that is focused on doing, achieving, planning, decisiveness, goal setting. And people always ask you, what's your plan? Where do you want to be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Or what's the goal? And that's great to answer when you're clear on what you want. But what do you do when you're not sure? What do you do when you're in a period of transition or a time of uncertainty? And how do you find your own way? What happens is we look around and we see that other people are busy and they're doing activities, and we start to panic. We think, if I don't keep up, I'm going to lose out. And we fall into this trap of compare and despair. Or we fall into a period of self-doubt. And then, to keep up, we get sucked into this hypnosis of hyperactivity, just trying to pack our days, and our life can start to feel like a conveyor belt, just keeping up. And so we're here in our bed, and we're lying asleep at night, and then we wake up, and then we check our emails from our bed, and then we get undressed, and then we get in the shower, and we get dressed, and we maybe have breakfast with everyone, we send them off, we get to work, we're checking our emails, our phone mails, our snail mail. We're downloading, we're uploading, we're printing, signing, faxing, FedExing. We've got a meeting about a meeting. Is this what I want to be doing with my life? We're eating lunch at our desk to make up for lost time. We've got the books and the blogs and the Twitter and the Facebook. What are they doing? What's my goal? Is this my life? And we're back at our desk. We've got the Excel spreadsheets, the budgets, the plans, the proposals. We're looking at what others are doing. We're comparing. We're despairing. And if we're lucky, we get to the gym. We change our clothes. We get on the bicycle, treadmill, Pilates. We take a yoga class to calm down, but while we're in yoga class, we're checking our email to keep up. We get out of yoga class, we got the biceps, triceps, abs, biceps, triceps, abs. We check ourselves in the mirror. If we're a guy, we're trying to get bigger. If we're a lady, we're trying to get smaller. Bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller. We go home, we're trying to eat the right things, a gluten-free bagels, a green juice, a groceries. We put them away, 3 more things done. We have dinner with everyone, we change our clothes, we get in bed, we channel surf, we call our friends. We read our book on spirituality. But then we check our phone one more time and we go to sleep. And that was a good day. And that was just Sunday. So, how do you manage? How do you thrive in a time when you're not even sure if this is the right track or these are your goals? How do you thrive when you're in a period of this transition and uncertainty? And how do you find your own way? Well, I think the answer really is to risk forward. Now, years ago, I studied with the great legendary mime, Marcel Marceau, and there was a type of movement he taught us, which was weight forward onto one foot, a little off balance, and heart open. He called this risk forward, or in his French accent, risque avant. And I've come to think of it really as a philosophy for life and work. How we can move forward, a little off balance, heart open, heading into the unknown. Now, to be clear, risking forward is not go for your goals and leap and the net will appear, or let's drive towards this target. It's really more, how do you move forward in those times of uncertainty? How do you trust this inner current, even if you don't know where it's taking you? How do you trust that wisp of an idea that flickers across your mind, even if you're not sure where it will lead? And how do you trust yourself to make a choice that's right for you, even if you can't defend it with logic? When I was in my 20s, I was really lost. I had graduated from college, and my friends were really clear. They were confident. They were moving forward in their lives. They were having husbands, homes, babies, careers, and I had none of this. They all were getting PhDs and projects and promotions and plans, and I didn't understand what was going on. And they started looking at me as I had all these interests in the performing arts, in acting and comedy and characters and plays and movement. And as time went on, they started saying, so what exactly are you doing? And where are you going with these interests? And the truth was I didn't know. And I started to feel less than. And I started to feel, does everyone else have a map to life? Like, where was I the day they gave out these maps? Because I don't have one. And as time went on, I felt like I was falling short. And then I thought, well, maybe if I can gain some kind of recognition or fame, that might prove me and my interests worthy. So I got on my own conveyor belt. And I was in the middle of that and trying to keep up when one morning I woke up. And I looked outside my bedroom window and I thought, is that smoke coming out of the World Trade Center tower right there? And I turned on the TV, and what was on the TV was what was outside my window. And then moments later, poof, that fireball. And after that, and life as we knew it. That was 9/11, and 2 days later, my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so suddenly fame and recognition didn't seem quite so important. And the question I asked, that we all asked, is, how can I help? So this inner current shifted within me from recognition to contribution. And trusting that inner current and risking forward, even though I had no idea where it was going to lead, changed the course of my life and career. In each of us is this inner current. It's this through line that drives us through our life, and if we can risk forward and trust it, it'll take us to extraordinary places. Now, this through line is a theater term. It was coined almost 100 years ago by Stanislavski, the great Russian theater artist. And he coined this term really to designate the driving force in a character's behavior. But I thought, how can we apply this to our lives? What's driving you through your life? So we asked this question, what's our through line? And I'm going to begin to help you find it today. I'll ask you a question that will give you the essence of the start of your through line. And it's a profound question. I just want you to trust what comes right into your head. Keep it silently for yourself, so don't second guess your first response. If you were on a desert island and you were dying, but there was a young person there with you, someone you cared deeply about, and you could only give one piece of advice to that person before you died, a piece of advice about life, what would that advice be? Whatever just came into your heart, into your mind, is exactly right for you. It's what you believe really matters. That at the end of life, for you, that's what it's all about. So the challenge becomes, how can we bring that into our lives on a daily basis to begin to express that through line and risk forward to trust it with our own creative ideas to express it? So if you think of your life like this huge arc, and then within that arc, you have acts like a play. And within those acts, these big chunks of your life, you have scenes, these moments. So a scene is talking to someone in the hall, or meeting friends and family for a meal, brainstorming with clients or customers or your team. And in any one of those scenes, it's how can you risk forward to express a creative idea that expresses what you believe matters, that risks forward? So I always say to teams, when I'm working with them, here's a phrase that will help release you, which is, trust the idea that can lead to the idea. So everyone's free to toss out a not good idea. They go, okay, this could be a bad idea, but hey, it could be the idea that leads to the idea. And saying that frees you. And it's extraordinary, the brainstorming that arises. Because those ideas that come to you, those interests, those curiosities, those excitements, they carry so much wisdom. They flit across our mind, and yet we dismiss them because we don't think we're good enough or those ideas are good enough, and we withhold them, and what a shame, because someone else says it, and we think, oh, or we don't say it, and that is lost. Because if you think about the great leaders, the executives I've been lucky enough to work with, the entrepreneurs, the authors, the artists, they trusted that. They trusted that idea. They risked forward. And if you look at their track record, very few Very few started with a detailed 5-year plan or a big goal. They just trusted that idea and it led to the next. Because the truth is, you can't always see the whole path forward. The through line doesn't reveal itself, just the next step. And so what happens is you have this impulse to go this direction. You think, I want to do that. And people say, don't do that. You won't make money. What are you thinking? How are you going to manage that? But if you can trust it and have the courage to step into it, oftentimes what happens is you say, oh, wait, here it is. Because there's a wall here and you can't see this path until you step here. And once you're here, you see the opportunity. Because when your through line is buried, it shows up as intuition. And we need to risk forward to trust that. When I was back in my 20s and trying to find some way to establish recognition, to prove myself worthy, this big opportunity came along to audition for a world-renowned theater company. And I thought, okay, this might be a way to package my interests and sort of put me on that map. So I showed up at this audition. Now, this particular company combined movement and mime and theater and interesting writing, all the skills that I loved. People are there, hundreds of performers from around the country in their leotards and they're stretching and warming up. And in this group, there's this guy over here, this sort of skinny little guy with stringy hair and hairy legs. He's like a little spider, and his name is Miguel, and he's checking me out. So we're in these groups, and we have to practice our slow motion skills. They're testing us for agility. They're testing us for character walks. And our group is cut down from hundreds to a smaller group of, say, 50. And in that group, Miguel. And now we're to imagine that we're inside of one of their performances. This particular company's plays has a foam block on the head. The men are to be the plug. They've got 2 prongs protruding. The women wear the electrical socket. So we've got 2 holes. And the men are walking around, and Miguel is chasing me, trying to get his prongs in my socket. Well, at the end of that, we're down to a smaller group, and at the end of that, 4 people are selected. It's me and Miguel. And this wave of warmth and welcome comes over me, because I think, finally, I'm approved. But as they describe the show, very intensive schedule, 8 shows a week, time for nothing else. This inside of me feeling begins to grow, and I'm not sure it's what I want. They give me 24 hours to decide. So I go home, I start calling my friends and my family, and people say, this is fantastic, you have to take this job. But I'm not sure if it's what I want. But you have to do it. It'll put you on the map. So they're so clear, and they're so certain, and of course, they had that map, not only to their lives, but to my own. So based on their certainty, I said yes. And that night I couldn't sleep. I was waking up feeling like this cool gray ink was running through my nervous system, like, did I just make the wrong decision? Over the next few days, I would wake up holding my head, clutching my head like this and crying. And a friend of mine, through all of this, finally just looked at me and she said, you've tried the yes and it's not working. Maybe you should try the no. So I summoned my courage. I called them up. I apologized profusely. They were so kind. And I let it go. They still had Miguel, and they still had the alternates. And then, here's the part no one tells you. It was not easy. It wasn't like life was easy right away. I went through this period of floundering and flailing and fear. But with time, I found my footing, and opportunities arrived that wouldn't have otherwise had I said yes. Now, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. Just because you have an offer doesn't mean you have to take it. And just because everyone else thinks it's a good idea doesn't mean it's right for you. Only you know the landscape of your soul. And it's so important to trust that through line that pulls you and to listen to it and risk forward. I wish we had to make those types of decisions where we struggle only once, but it's a decision we make again and again. Sometimes in our personal lives. I happened to turn 30 unmarried without a husband, and that made people very nervous. Oh, no husband? You're going to get married? And then I crossed into my 40s still unmarried, and that really stressed people out. There was so much pressure in the questions and the comments and the judgment, still not married. You're thinking of having kids? It's getting late. And I had to contend with all of that until finally I just said to them, I skipped my first divorce. And then the look in their eye would change and they'd think, I should have done that too. I think these periods in our lives, these times when we're uncertain, when the path or the plan or the project is not yet clear, when we find ourselves in this place of not knowing, is a period of great potential. It's to be honored and to be respected. It's fertile. It's full of promise. And if we can meet that unknown and step into that void without grasping for the most convenient way out, I think we'll meet with an extraordinary life. Little by little and bit by bit, it emerges. And it's often beyond what we could have imagined or set with plans and goals. I really hope that we can give ourselves permission to get off each other's backs and our own, and stop asking each other for, what's your plan, what's your goal, and instead ask, what interests you now? Because I think if we can trust that inner current, that through line that's leading us, if we can trust that wisp of an idea that flickers across our mind, and if we can trust ourselves to make a decision that's right for us, even when the whole cry of voices is on the other side, I think we'll find an extraordinary way. We need to step forward so that we can be a little off balance, heart forward, and heading into the unknown. We need to risk forward.